Do you want to learn how to simulate the World Cup 5,000 times in a second on Excel? If so, watch the full video and subscribe to become a lad. Alright lads, let's firstly name this sheet Country Database and create two column headers named Country and ELO rating beside each other. So in cell A2 I'll put Country and in B2 ELO rating. Below these columns we'll be listing the countries in the knockout phase of the World Cup, as well as their ELO rating, which is sort of like a power ranking for teams and takes into account the strength of their previous performances. For example, a country with a high ELO rating is expected to beat a team with a lower ELO rating. And then after you've formatted these headers to look a little nicer, go ahead and pull up Safari or Internet Explorer with the World Cup knockout matches. You can list these countries below the country column header in any order, but I'm going to go from the top down, starting with the Netherlands. Then I'll put the USA and I'll go all the way down to the bottom. Japan, Croatia, Brazil. Then just scroll down. England are facing Senegal. Keep going to Switzerland. Alright, now once you've done that, highlight the range of teams. Just drag. And then click this space right here and replace the text A3 with teams. What we've done here is name the range so it's easier to reference later on in our model by just writing teams instead of listing a range of A3 to A18. Alright, next go to the website World Football ELO Ratings, where we will be pulling our team ratings from. All you have to do here is match each country with their rating, like I've done here with the Netherlands. And keep going. USA have a rating of 1840. And just do this manually. So Japan, 1841. Brazil have a high rating, 2137. Keep going all the way to Switzerland. And again, once you've done that, highlight the range. Click up here, replace the text B3 with ratings. So we've named this range ratings. Now we have to create a template for our World Cup simulation, which will make it easier for us to work through once we've created the formulas and inputted the data required later on in this video. So create a new sheet named Simulation and list Team 1 above Team 2 in cells B3 and B4. And beside each of these teams is a text win percentage. Format this data into a box using borders, and also make the cells bigger for our data by adjusting the height of each row in the sheet by clicking the top left triangle icon you'll see in the sheet like I've done, and adjusting a singular row, which will change the size of every row in the sheet. I also like to center the data, so just highlight that and center it. Next, copy and paste this template exactly 4 times, each below each other like I've done here, to represent the left-hand side of the round of 16 draw. After this, do it twice to represent the quarterfinal games for this side of the draw, and then do it once for the semi-final. Next to it, do it again for the grand final or the final, and then after that, do it for the opposite side of the draw's semi-final. Yep, and then the quarterfinal, which we just did there, and then the 4 round of 16 matches. Alright, that's done. So now we can type in the teams playing each other in the round of 16 matches. So pull up the knockout stage, which we can find on Google here. So I'll just change tabs to the World Cup. And then I'll input the game. So our first game on the left-hand side of the draw is the Netherlands versus the USA. I'll just adjust this column a bit. That's a bit tight there. And remember, you can adjust every column at once by changing one column and clicking the top left icon. And then we'll do it for the rest of the games. Argentina versus Australia, Japan versus Croatia, Brazil and South Korea. And then on the other side of the draw, we switch to the right-hand side. We've got France and Poland. We go down, England versus Senegal, Morocco and Spain, and Portugal versus Switzerland. Right, that's this step done. Right, lads, now we have to calculate the win percentage of each team in each game, which is basically the chance they have of winning each individual game, and this chance will obviously fluctuate based on the strength of their opponent's ELO rating. I have the formula right here on the right, which we'll plug in for each team using this formula that we'll do now together. So, equals 1 divided by 1 plus 10 to the power of, and then bracket negative, bracket, x lookup. So that x lookup function, we're going to be looking up our team A, which is here the Netherlands in B3. And we'll be looking up the Netherlands in the country array here. And you'll notice this turns two teams because if you remember, some steps ago we named this range teams. So that makes it easier. And we also named our return array ratings. So when we keep going with the formula and we look up team B, which is the USA, just get rid of that simulation there, you want to keep things consistent. Our lookup array is just teams and our return array is just ratings. So that makes things a lot easier. Put two brackets there and then divided by 400, put another two brackets. And something I like doing to make sure that if there's an error I know about it, wrap this function in an if error function. So if there's an error, it returns nothing, which is signaled by the two speech marks. And then so we've got our win percentage for the Netherlands, 76.7%. Once you've done this correctly for this cell, we'll just type in 1 next to the USA, so the probability is cumulative. Highlight these three cells and autofill this down to South Korea's win percentage, and this will be correct. Just make sure to change the 2, 3, and 4 to 1s, which is just an autofill error. Then we'll do the same thing for the other side of the draw, but obviously just changing the ranges to be correct. So highlight the formula, go across to France's win percentage and copy that. It'll come up as the Netherlands win percentage, and we want to change that. Our lookup value will be France, so we're finding France's ELO rating and comparing it with Poland's. When we press center, that's correct. So here France have a 72.2% chance of beating Poland. If we autofill this down, again changing the 2, 3, and 4s to 1, so that's just an autofill error, there's nothing we can do about that. And then highlight these decimals and change them to percentages to make it easier to read. And then there we go. We've got all the win percentages for our round of 16 games. And we can actually do a test to make sure we're right. So just change the Netherlands to a higher ranking team such as Argentina, and then the win percentage on your model should become higher because obviously a higher strength team will do better. On the other hand, if you change Argentina to Australia, which has a much lower rating, then the win percentage will drop below 50%, which means the United States is favoured to win this match. Now, lads, we need to come up with an Excel formula to determine the winner of these matches and the team that will move on to the next stage of the tournament. So we'll write the formula over team 1 here. So clear this cell and equals, and we'll use an index formula. So our array will be the previous match, the two teams that played in the match we want here. And so count if, we want to count how many times C3, which is the Netherlands win percentage, is less than or equals to, and then we'll write an and symbol here, a random decimal between 0 and 1. And then we'll plus 1 on that because we want to return a row. And as always, wrap it in an if error function so that if there's an error, it returns nothing. Click enter and then refresh the page a few times and it'll work. Most of the time it'll be Netherlands because they're the team favoured to win. And we'll do the same thing for the next game, but you'll notice we have to find the winner of the Argentina and Australia game, not the Netherlands and the USA game. And again, this time we're counting the amount of times that the Argentine win percentage is less than or equals to a random decimal. And because we want a row number, plus 1, and wrap it in an if error function. Close the bracket there and hit enter. And now if we refresh a few times, we'll have our teams there and The most unlikely scenario here would be an Australia-USA game, so that won't come up too often. Copy and paste that, and it should work for the below cells. You'll see it works here. It's picked Japan as the winner there in our random simulation. And if we refresh the page, we'll see that it uploads and refreshes the data. So now we want to prescribe the teams their winning percentage, and it's just simply copying and pasting the formula. And you can see if we refresh there, it works. Copy and paste that in there. But when we copy and paste in there, you'll notice that it comes up with a blank space. That's because Team 1 and Team 2 aren't in that team's named range, which we did before. And so we need to fix this by doing the same function we did in this cell in this one. So we get a team out of Argentina and Netherlands. Clear up the ranges. So it'll be between Netherlands and Argentina. And we want the amount of times the Netherlands win percentage is below or equals to random decimal. And we need to do the same thing for Team 2 over here. Just copy the Netherlands function into there, and we'll have to change the range. And so this is what we'll have to do for the rest of the games. And it just involves copying and pasting and then changing the ranges so that it updates accordingly. And if we press backspace or refresh the cells, it works for every team. Same thing here. We want to return a winner from USA and Brazil based on the win percentage of the USA. And for this cell, we're actually returning the winner between Team 1 and Team 2 of the other side of the draw. And that's based on the win percentage of Team 1. And so when we press enter, it'll return Team 1. And that's why the cell, the win percentage of Australia, stays blank, because Team 1 is not a recognised team. And so that just means we have to do the formulas for the semi-final. Quarterfinals and semi-final. So pick a winner between France and Poland. Now we have to pick a winner between England and Senegal based on England's win percentage. Copy and paste and it would work. Copy and paste Spain into there. And once we do that, we need to change the ranges between Poland's and Senegal. Switch to Poland's win percentage. Find the winner between Morocco and Switzerland based on Morocco's win percentage. And you can see it works for the final now. So when we press backspace, and we can zoom out so we can see the entire knockout stage. We've now got win percentages for every team, and we've simulated the knockout stage. So all we have left to do is to do the same thing for the World Cup final, and that's just picking a winner between Argentina and England based on our RAND, R-A-N-D function, and Argentina's win percentage. I don't like that border. I'll get rid of that. So just go over to this eraser and go clear formats. Merge and center the cells. And then when we press backspace, it has successfully simulated World Cups. Alright, now we can do some conditional formatting so that whatever team wins, we can see that it is highlighted in green. So out of these two matches, whoever goes through to the next round, there's going to be a green fill. And so when we press backspace a couple times, it switches between the two. So it makes it more visually appealing. And I'll just do this for Argentina and Australia as well. There's a quicker way we can do this actually, instead of going through new rule. Just go highlight cells rules equal to Argentina, which is cell E6, and then green fill. Okay. And then it'll do it. I'll just do it quickly for the rest of the cells now. And finally, for the World Cup final between, in this instance, Croatia and Portugal, highlight cells rules equal to, and we'll go equal to the winner of this match, which is cell L4. But instead of green, I want to customize format. So go into format cells and then fill, background color, and I'll select yellow or gold, more of a gold color here, and then press OK, and then you'll see our winner is highlighted in gold. And we'll just fill this with gold too. And when we simulate these a few more times, it looks good. So far we've been able to simulate the winner of a single World Cup, but that doesn't really give us much information about each nation's true probability of winning. So now we're going to create a new sheet called Raw Simulations and simulate the World Cup 5,000 times to give us a more accurate indication of the tournament's favourite. Firstly, we need the teams stretched across the sheet as headers, so use the transpose function to horizontally list all the teams. Then we want 5,000 trials of each team's World Cup results. So use the sequence function to spill a vertical list going from 1 to 5,000. Just type in 5,000 there, close the bracket, and numbers should come up from 1 to 5,000. Once we've done that, we need to use a formula to work out what stage each nation progressed to in each individual simulation. So we need to count if, and our range will be, if we go into simulation, it'll just be from the Netherlands in B3 to Switzerland in cell T13, or rather U13, Switzerland's win percentage. And our criteria, we actually want to count how many times our team comes up. So for example, if the Netherlands come up once, they haven't made it out of the round of 16, but if they come up 5 times in that data set, then they've won the tournament. Make sure you absolute reference properly, only the row, not the column, because we're auto-filling across the sheet. And we can see in this simulation, the USA have won the tournament, Spain were runners-up, and Senegal and Brazil were knocked out in the semi-final phase. Now that we've done this, we need a highlight from cell A3 containing trials all the way to the last cell in the Switzerland column. You can do this by using the Control-Shift-Arrow shortcut. Once that's highlighted, go into the Data tab, click the drop-down button from What If Analysis, and then hit Data Table. Don't input a row input cell, but for the column input cell, just click a random cell outside the dataset. When we press OK, Excel is going to perform 5,000 simulations of the World Cup for us. Alright, now once we've got this data, we need to compile it in a way that makes sense to us. So create a new sheet called Sim Results and create headers across the top of this sheet named Team, then Round of 16, Quarterfinal, Semi-Final, Final, and Winner. Semi-final, final, and winner. Just put these in bold and try and fit these headers. Now enter the list of teams under the team column header using your named range. And so first we need to count how many times the Netherlands were knocked out in the round of 16 stage. We can do this with the countif function combined with the index and match functions. So countif, now our range will be using an index function. So the array in which we'll be searching for our return number is from B4 to Q1 million. So we go all the way across, and instead of Q4 we go 1 million. So it's sort of a dynamic range in the case that however many simulations you do, it's always going to fit in this data set. Now for the row number, type in 0, and for the column number we want to use a match formula because we don't know what column we're looking up yet. So our lookup value will be the Netherlands, and as we autofill that down, it'll change. So absolute reference the column only. The lookup array, go into raw simulations, and it'll just be the teams transposed horizontally. Make sure you absolute reference that with the shortcut Command T if you're on Mac. And the match type, we want an exact match, so type in 0. Okay, so close the bracket there twice. And our criteria, well, we want to know when the Netherlands were knocked out in the round of 16. So type in 1, meaning that we want to try and find how many times the Netherlands appeared only once in our simulation. And that happened 1,200 times. But we want as a percentage of 5,000, so use the counter function. And our value will be the range from A4 to A1 million. Again, it's a dynamic range, so that if we add more simulations to the data set, it'll just update accordingly. Close the bracket, hit enter, and we can see we have a 0.2302 or a 23.02% chance of the Netherlands being knocked out in the round of 16. And as we refresh the cells, this will change because this is not a set probability. This is a simulation. Now, the reason it's all the same here is, again, going back to the fact that the Netherlands, if they appear twice like they did in this simulation, then that means they've been knocked out in the quarterfinal. If they appear 5 times, they've been crowned champions of the world. So for the quarterfinal, type in 2 here, press enter, and the data should update accordingly. And I'll just autofill those down for all the other nations. For the semi-final, in our simulation worksheet, it will appear 3 times. For the final, it will appear 4 times, so change that 1 to a 4. Enter, autofill that down, and of course, if they win, it will appear 5 times in our range. Autofill that down. We'll change these to percentages. And but before we do that, you'll see if I highlight that and go to sum, it always equals 1 because our simulations are done at 5,000 at a time. All right, so now we've got the percentages of each team and their probability of advancing to each stage in the World Cup. All right, lads, now time for some simple data analysis. We're going to be sorting through this table we've got here and making it more visually appealing and making use of the information at our disposal. So highlight the headers here, and on this new sheet we have named data analysis. We're going to sort each team by their percentage chance in becoming the world champions. So our array is the whole piece of data there, and put in an open curly whirly bracket there, and we want to sort by column 6, then 5, then 4, then 3, then 2, and then we want to sort in a descending order. So hit enter after doing that, and you'll find on our data analysis sheet it'll have sorted each team by their percentage chance in winning the World Cup, with Brazil first at 29% and sadly Australia last at 0.1%. And when we update the data, the teams will move according to their percentage chance, so it's not static. And the reason we couldn't sort on our last sheet was because you can't change arrays. Now we can add in a color scale here through some conditional formatting. And what we're going to do next is make a table out of this. So hold down the command button when you're highlighting multiple separated ranges like this, and go into insert and recommended charts, and this will give you a bar or column graph, and we can play around with some things here. You can go there, and if these numbers look a bit crowded, you can always expand them. But I think rather than this graph, yeah, they don't all look as good as this one. We'll shrink that a bit. And we can see here Brazil are the outright favourites, followed by Argentina, and then the Netherlands, Spain and France sort of clumped together. We'll do the same thing. We'll create another table or chart, and this time we'll go into a map, and this is a really cool feature. the Excel will actually tell you which parts of the world are most likely to win the World Cup based on the countries we've highlighted in our team's range. So we can change this chart title to World Cup winners, winner location. And something we can also do, if you go into fill here, now you have to press the plot area. If you go into options and then maximum next to highest value, press the green, and then so the color scale will change. And if you do the same thing with the minimum, it'll start off with a light green and go to a dark green, and our table will update. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to become a lad.